Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, man. Hunt the ball. Let's go, family on three. 1, 2, 3, family.
Hello, football family. Welcome in to our Ravens reset here at the bye week. Brought the all-star crew back. So happy they can make time to join me here tonight. We have Jordan from the sit room. We have Jameel Patterson, Ravens Elite, and Baltimore's own. We call you Baltimore's own, Sarah, because you never really left. Sarah Ellison down at the bottom of the screen. So let's start, ladies first. Sarah, how's it going with your work? No, you have a post-game show with Kadri Ismail. All that stuff going on. How are you doing, Sarah?
Hey man, we were cruising all the way up to the Bengals game. It was feeling pretty good. So, yeah, no, it's been great. Just mostly out on Twitter and me and Q doing that post game show. It's going well.
Great show. I'm sure a lot of people listen to it. I try to catch it if I'm in the good mood. I'll listen to it and I'll watch my fantasy team and then I'll multitask and I'll watch the game that's on. So a lot of multitasking after the game. Jameel Patterson, Ravens Elite, his partner Knox, both great friends of mine. Jameel, how's it going? How's your work going, man?
It's going good, man. Everything's good. Taking it one day at a time. Just trying to, bring in energy and entertainment to the Ravens community. Just try to keep people informed and just, bring, like I said, that positive energy to the Ravens community because we have a lot of, Debbie Downers on Twitter. So
no kidding.
I've never come across them before. It's just never happened.
It's right. Thank God for your timeline because mine, woo, all right. Yes. But everything's going great, bro.
It takes all of us, that, Jameel. It takes all of us, not all of us can be positive. Not all of us can be rational. Emotions run high here with our football team. We all feel it. So, let them fan how they got to fan. And, I know you're quick to come back. You're quick to come back on them too, Jameel. I noticed that about you. You're strong with your stances. And, another person that's strong with his stances, the guy to my left, bam, hit the left right this time. Jordan Coe, Ravens sit room. X's and O's guy. He's got his co-host Gabe Fergie there on Film Study Baltimore. Not Film Study Ravens. That's filmstudybaltimore.com. Jordan, what's going on, man? You here to bring some order to the show or what?
I'm going to try, Jason, but, it's probably going to get a little unruly, just like the last time when we made those predictions. So I'm here for the ride. Awesome crew that you pulled here together. Excited to be here tonight, representing that LA crowd. Me and Gabe out here on the West Coast, repping the Ravens and bringing it home.
Yeah, Jordan, I think that you are the reason that we're not doing too high, too low, right on, bro, tonight, because it didn't matter what I said. It was too low. Like you were going sky high. And, I got to hand it to you. You were right. This Ravens offense setting records. So, the first question I got to throw to Jordan is, something general. How are we feeling at this bye week, fellas? How are we feeling? Tough loss, great start, exciting games. Give me how you're feeling.
Jason, if we took the last two games and we flipped the order that they happened, we'd feel really great coming into the bye week. Even regardless of the competition, regardless of which teams we were playing, take all of that for what you will. You flip those games around and we feel completely different. So the NFL is totally a week-to-week thing. It's all about emotions. And when playoff time rolls around, you got to win every single week. So you can't have these ups and downs. But I feel good about this team. I mean, given what they've done at running back, kind of what they've had there, the injuries, all of that, everybody knows those stories. But the guys they got coming back, the progress that we've seen from Lamar, this is an exciting team with an exciting MVP level guy at the top of this team, kind of taking us to where we're going to go. I think the schedule out of the bye week, I mean, the Ravens are always good out of the bye week to begin with. This is extra fire under their butts to kind of really get it up, tighten it up, get it together. And I think that gives them 3 weeks to, what I would say is find that consistency. This is a team that continues to just be wildly inconsistent on both sides of the ball in all phases of the game, it seems like at times, except for special teams. Special teams has been great, but on offense and defense, it's a roller coaster ride. And if they can clean that up a little bit and tighten it up, I think this team will go as far as we think it did to start the year. But 5-2, I wouldn't argue with that heading into week 7, even pre-injury issues that the Ravens had coming into this season.
Yeah. For me, man, it's really hard to be upset about your team sitting at 5-2 going into the bye week. I'd have to agree with Jordan. If you flip those games, like he said, you're not so upset about, losing to the Bengals. it leaves a bad taste in your mouth going into the bye week. That's just what it is. You're going into the bye week with the loss that brutal at home. So most fans, that's just the last thing they remember. For me, I'm still pretty decent. I would say I have a lot of concerns as far as just like the offensive line play because as I look at certain highlights and film, I just noticed certain things that this offense could do if Lamar just had just that extra second in the pocket. And him being who he is, pressure is not a quarterback's best friend. So if he's a little uncomfortable in the pocket, a lot of things he may miss a few guys because that just happens. Guys, quarterbacks miss their guys all the time. So there are just a lot of things I would like to see improve as far as just offensive line play. More importantly than anything, because I think that's why we're not seeing the running game be as good as we think they could be, because the lack of push we're getting up front in the trenches, and then also on the defensive side, just the tackling portion. I think you just need to improve there. That's just how I feel, man. But you really can't complain too much when your team is 5-2. I mean, what? I mean, we're 5-2. We're not 2-5. So I don't really have too much to say outside of just the obvious issues that the team have. There's no really deep issues that I can be like, oh, we need to, there's the flaws are like out in the open for us. So that's it.
I feel very good about this team. You are who your record says you are, and this 5-2 record says that the Ravens are in the top tier of the AFC. If on any given Sunday, the Ravens can beat anybody in the AFC, anybody on any given, and that's despite having the number one injuries in the league. That's despite the defense being ranked number 24, Ravens defense being ranked number 24. And I think the defense is performing below its capabilities. I think it can get better. So no matter, because you have Lamar Jackson, despite all of these things, you can beat any team on any given Sunday. So you have to feel good about that, especially considering all the stuff that's been going on. So if I had to sum up this first half of the season, at least the half being before the bye, there's 3 words I would use to describe the team. It would be resilient, because it's incredible that they're 5-2 despite all these injuries. They're inconsistent, which is the thing that's bringing them down. And the third word I would say is Lamar. I won't go too deep because I know we got another section on him, but with him and a 5-2 record, you feel pretty darn good.
Anything's possible. So, that's a good transition. And I'm not saying anything's possible as in we're 1-4 and we can make a run. Like, it's a good team. It's 5-2. Everything we have is right in front of us. But let's talk about Lamar and his play. Jamil, talk about what this man has done through 7 games. And if you want to expand on what you expect from him the rest of the season, let's talk about the main guy on this team, a man that could be in the MVP conversation yet again, Lamar Jackson. So for me, I wasn't a big fan of, I'm not going to say his play was bad, but it wasn't to the Lamar standard. Last week, he did throw a touchdown. He didn't have any turnovers, but he did miss some throws. However, a lot of those missed throws were definitely, you can't just completely put the blame on him, because offensive line, like I said, if you're a quarterback with pressure is not your best friend. Some quarterbacks, people like to say quarterbacks that are good under pressure are like the best quarterbacks in the league. But there's no quarterback in the NFL that will tell you that they would like pressure. They work better under pressure. Every quarterback wants a clean pocket. I believe when Lamar has a clean pocket, he plays just as good as any quarterback in the NFL as far as throwing the ball. We've seen that him throwing the ball this year, he's hitting outside the numbers. He's hitting anywhere in the field. He's being able to attack anywhere on the field. And I think that's the most important thing going forward for Lamar. So for me, I'm really excited, and I'm actually happy from what he's been able to do with such poor offensive line play, because I can only imagine if Lamar didn't have that ability that he has to extend plays or even evade some type of, sack or pressure, that it would be a lot worse. And that's another thing. When it comes to the sacks, I do feel like he holds the ball a little too long, but I think a lot of it has to do with our play style. We like the big plays down the field. We're not really a dink and dunk team. We try to go for the juggler
and go for the big plays. And those plays take a very long time to develop. And when you don't have the proper blocking up front, those plays tend to, it's boom or bust. You may hit sometime and then you may not. But going forward with me and Lamar, for me, as far as Lamar's play, he's always played exceptionally well in the second half of the season. So I'm excited to see what he does going forward, because he always plays better in the stretch going towards the end of the season. And what makes it better is that he's playing better in the stretch, and he's also improved as a thrower. So I'm looking forward to see him, catapult and actually improve going forward as far as passing and in the playoffs.
Yeah, Jameel, I just wanted to jump in there before Sarah goes. Like, we were all looking at each other on our prediction show. Like, man, I thought I predicted Lamar high. Look at what Jordan's predicting him. Man, look what Sarah's predicting. Look what Jameel's predicting. And he's blowing away what we predicted in the season. So these deep shots, they're paying off. And I think one thing I want to point out, build off of Jameel's point before Sarah goes, is that it takes a little bit of time to build trust with that offensive line. And you've seen all the things that the Ravens are doing, keeping Ricard in to help. It's just a different offense for Lamar to get used to, holding the ball, taking these shots, extending plays. So yeah, Sarah, how you feeling about QB1, number 8?
Yeah. The way Lamar played in the first 7 games, to me, has showed me he's even more valuable to this 2021 squad than he was when he was voted in league MVP. Because when you lose your all-pro left tackle, and now you've lost your right tackle, you've lost a third-round rookie offensive lineman who was, projected to start. You've lost your first-round draft pick wide receiver. You've lost your top 3 running backs. Actually, now it's top 4 because Latavius Murray went down, but hopefully he'll come back. This, to me, is an early look at what Lamar can do when he gets paid. Because we all lived through Joe Flacco, right? We all love Joe Flacco. We know that when he had all the pieces around him, what was he capable of? He was capable of winning the Super Bowl and becoming a Super Bowl MVP. But as soon as he got paid, that's when the Ravens dropped to more mediocrity, right? Barely making the playoffs if they did make it. And so with Lamar, we know a ton of money is going to go towards him, which is going to have less money to put pieces around him. And we're seeing him with this early look of so many injuries and a number 24 ranked defense to still carry this team. He is the epitome. He doesn't just preach, nobody cares, work harder. He lives it. He embodies it, because every single time something comes against him, he busts through it. And not only has he busted through it, but now he's destroyed some narratives that he didn't destroy his MVP year. So the narratives that he couldn't have a comeback win. Well, he's had 3 comeback wins this year, including the signature one where they're down 19 points in the fourth quarter versus the Colts. They said he couldn't, he's not accurate, couldn't have deep balls. Not only, but what is it? He's averaging 8.6 yards per attempt. That's the highest of his career. Higher than his MVP year, and yet he has a 65% completion percentage, which was better than last year. That's not how football's supposed to work. When you start throwing deeper, and yet your completion percentage is higher, don't talk to me that he can't throw deep balls. Don't talk to me that he can't be accurate. And then he's thrown outside the numbers too. Go to NFL Gen Stats. Go look at all the graphics and where he throws the ball. It's outside the numbers. So he's brought us to the number 9 passing game. We're the number 4 overall offense, because he's running the ball like nobody else. He's passing like nobody else. He is the definition of MVP. And I'm so glad that I want to get him some help, but it gives me so much hope for after when he gets paid that the Ravens will still be a top tier AFC team.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sarah's spot on. And even if you look at the Bengals game, Jameel says, oh, Lamar didn't have his greatest game, and he didn't. He missed a handful of throws in that game. Still 8.29 yards per attempt in that game. There were some easy ones that he left on the field. Easily could have been close to a 10 YPA in that game. Just barely missed it. Carried the team on his back. Sarah's right from the running back position. I mean, we are a long way from J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. And all of a sudden, and we heard this from the Bengals after the Bengal game, they said there were a lot more eyes on Lamar than there usually are. And I think in any running situation, they were keyed in on Lamar. They were keyed in on him the entirety of that time. And for whatever reason, Greg Roman decided that he wanted to stay heavy and he wanted to stay in these big jumbo packages and he wanted to stay tight and in the middle of the field. And I think that limited some of the windows that Lamar had to throw into there. Maybe there was some chipping that he wanted to do, et cetera. But overall, look, Lamar is in my book, and not just because I have $100 down to win $1,700 for him to be MVP. I agree with Sarah. What we're seeing from him is throwing the ball in all the spots that we didn't think that, or we all thought he could, but a lot of people didn't think he could. We're seeing Marquise Brown come down and catch it. Andrews come down and catch it. These guys had the number of snaps that Brown and Andrews had this past week in the Bengals game was not enough either. I mean, if we actually rolled this offense out, we let the key offensive players play at the same rates that Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce play, and throw the ball as much as Mahomes does, Lamar would be absolutely blowing up these numbers and blow right by 5,000 yards on the year. So we've got the guy that we expected. We've got guys coming back. We've got continuity that we need to clean up. They need to figure out what they want to do with the offensive line scheme like Jamil was talking about. But I think they clean those things up, and the sky is the limit in terms of where this can go. It's already, like you said, Jason, way higher than any of us even possibly expected. And I was on the Lamar MVP train before when we had the prediction show.
Right. We were predicting career highs.
And he is ahead of a lot of that now. And so, look, anybody that doesn't see that for this team and doesn't see that for Lamar didn't want to see it in the first place.
Look, I have to go back to Sarah. I have to go back to Sarah on this one because, or her point, like it gives you a window into what it's going to be like when Lamar gets paid and you can't afford a Ronnie Stanley or you can't afford, you're missing pieces. We saw how much it hurt Joe when Pitta went down. There was really nowhere else to turn for Joe Flacco in that offense. There was no special running game to lean on. The fact that Lamar is doing this with what he has and on the fly adjusting this offense. Now, we seem to keep going back to this Bengals game, which is natural. Like we're all like in the Bengals moment. But you're seeing how they are respecting the deep ball now. Both the LA Chargers and the Bengals were hell-bent on taking away that deep ball. And like the narratives of Lamar are changing, and you're seeing it in the opposing coaches. Like they are not afraid of these running backs. The linebackers aren't biting on play action. Jordan said more eyes on Lamar. It's dude, that's what's happening. They are not biting on they're not threatened by our veteran backs. Everything's going on Lamar. And what is he doing? He's carrying this team. And, you go about the nobody cares, work harder. Watch Lamar go to work in that Bengals game. Watch him leave his heart and soul out on the field when it was looking bleak. He is a guy, a leader among leaders. Everybody does it a different way. But I tell you what, there is not a quarterback I would play harder for if it's possible. My 110%. I see that man doing what he's doing. You best believe I'm doing everything I can on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and especially on Sunday to lead this team. But Lamar does have some help, and it's some new help, a brand new Ravens team, and that's this wide receiver group. So I wanted to ask Sarah, with the way the Ravens are playing, and especially if we can get the big three back. We saw what Bateman can do already. We've seen what Sammy can do. Hollywood is putting up a tremendous Hollywood. What'd you say, Jordan? Jamil, 14 touchdowns for Hollywood. We called you crazy, didn't we? We laughed at you. We laughed at you, didn't we?
You did laugh at me. All
of
you laughed.
The joke was on us, Jamil, because Hollywood's got a real chance for those 14 touchdowns. He's good for one a game. But yeah, Sarah, these wide receivers, are they the strongest group on the team, and should we lean on them more going forward?
And they're obviously, especially if you put in Mark Andrews, put in all the pass catchers, that's obviously the strength of the offense. It's crazy though. Number 9 passing attack from dead last year. And by the way, we haven't even had all of them together yet. Like that's not coming until after the bye. Sammy, Rashad, Hollywood, Mark Andrews, Boyle will be back. Boyle doesn't do as much in the passing game, but he gives some stuff. So here's the thing though. I feel like they've leaned on it sufficiently. I hope they don't have to lean any more than they already have. I need some running backs to come. Especially McCarry's down. I don't know if it's a season ender. It's a reported high ankle sprain. So that's not a short-term injury. Maybe he can make it back for a potential playoff run, which I'm here for. But that's a problem. So I'm nervous about protection. So the running game has to come back, and not just through Lamar. So the Ravens are ranked number 4 in rush yards right now, but Lamar Jackson accounts for 46%, nearly half of the Ravens' total rush yards. You take his yards out, the Ravens would rank number 26 in the league in rushing. 26th if you took him out. We'll talk more about the running backs, but that's got to give. Lamar, without a run game, play action isn't as effective. The Ravens have been pushing that hard. His pressure percentage right now is at 23.3%. He has taken 18 hits through 7 weeks. Do you know how many this is all according to PFR. Do you know how many hits he took last year total? 102. He's at 24.
Right.
He took 24 hits. He took, in the pocket. He took 24 hits from the pocket. He's already taken 18. The running game needs to be there for him. It needs to open things up. It needs to be a threat again. We'll talk about more how that has to happen. But my hope is that they don't have to lean into the passing game more than they already have.
I love it. I love it. And as an aside, to all those people out there that are stuck in their old narratives, Sarah has done work on this. I didn't know. I did my own work on this, saw her work, matched up with mine. It is more dangerous in the pocket. Look at the injuries around the NFL. When Lamar Jackson himself, by the way, is a spectacular vision, elusiveness. When he is dictating where that contact is coming from, that's as safe as he can get. When you get rolled up on in that pocket and you're hanging in there, taking these deep shots downfield and giving your receivers a chance and getting hit from 2 different ways. Sorry, Sarah. Sorry to derail the segment, but it's worth noting that, we need more from this running game because we're relying on our quarterback for the running game to take big hits in the passing game, and that's not a way to treat your franchise quarterback. So, Jordan, wide receivers, how you feeling, man?
Hey, Rashad Bateman, a shout out to Rashad Bateman here. 7 catches in 2 games, 7 first downs. Absolutely bona fide wide receiver. Understands what it takes to get open. Has that second gear. My big knock on Devin Duvernay is that he doesn't have that ability once he's turned it up to take it over the top, to get that separation at the end of a route, to be able to kind of juice it where he needs to. We've already seen that from Bateman. Obviously, he had the one drop that turned into the interception, but his hands have looked really good as well. I'm a big fan of him kind of taking this wide receiver group to the next level. I'll disagree slightly with Sarah in only that I think that the Ravens can add wrinkles to this passing game that will be like a running game. You hear Andy Reid talk about this kind of thing. You hear Kansas City talk about it. We could be better with our screens. We could be better in the flat. We could run a lot more RPO. I think the Ravens have been really effective. Lamar absolutely freezes defenders with his threat to run, with a running back in the flat and a guy running a curl right out of the slot route. There are a lot of things that this team can do. I think they need to spread out more. I think they need guys on the boundary. But they also need guys in line that are chipping and giving help to their tackles. I think schematically the tools are there to really just dial it up on in terms of the passing game. Let Lamar have some of these. Jamil said this earlier, like these deep shots, the way we develop our plays, it's almost like a deep read to short read type offense for Lamar. He's looking at what the safeties are doing in terms of their coverage, how he's going to read that, how he's going to go down the field. If that's covered up, he works his way back. I think that there's an opportunity here in this bye week to build some of that in the other way around. And that's what RPOs look like. It's looking at the line of scrimmage. It's looking at the flats. It's looking for some of these curl routes. There were some routes in the Cincinnati game where they played off the receiver. Lamar has to be given the freedom in those instances to check and throw quick to those guys. Those plays are there. It's easy. They're easy yards. It's easy in terms of health. It's safe. We've got guys that can catch the ball now. I think that we can lean into the running game or into the passing game. That being said, if Greg Roman is not going to change, if they're not going to make fundamental changes about how they want to operate the offense in those regards, then absolutely, we've got to find a running back. Tyson Williams still strikes me as, we'll talk about it later, but they definitely need to improve the running game if they want to keep the scheme built precisely as they have it now.
Bravo, man. Bravo. It's maybe hard to follow behind you guys. I'll try, though. But for me, the wide receiver room, I am excited for these guys because they are, like you said, they are right now the most talented group on the team. And it's crazy I'm saying this about the Baltimore Ravens, right? I don't think we've ever had a wide receiver room as talented and as with this much potential ever. So the wide receivers I'm very excited about. Hollywood is having a career year thus far. He's killing it. Rashad Bateman.
How many touchdowns did you say you'd have, Jamil? How many
I
touchdowns?
said he'll have 14. I said 14, and
Okay.
it looked like he might have more. I'm just saying. But
Just saying.
yeah, just saying. But but yeah, for me, man, it's just with the wide receivers, I just love what I'm seeing, man. And then I'm scared for opposing defenses because they're going to put defenses at a point where you got to defend every level. As far as you have Sammy, he works really good underneath. Mark Andrews works really good underneath and intermediate. Bateman seems to be finding his niche as far as like running the underneath and the intermediate crossing routes across the field. And then you got Hollywood who can do it all. He can go down the field. He can do the shallow crosses, the crosser routes, Hollywood's actually become a more complete, minus, the jump balls, of course. But as far as like, running the full route tree and all of those things, Hollywood is showing and displaying that level of route running ability. He's taking it to the next level. And Bateman is already he's already a pro as far as route running ability. And he gets a ton of separation. There were a few routes where Lamar, he kind of got sacked. He had a lot of pressure. He couldn't hit Bateman. Bateman ran like a comeback route, and he was wide open. But Lamar couldn't hit him because of, the pressure and all of that good stuff. But, yeah, man, the wide receivers, I'm excited for what they can do. As far as the passing game, I'm like in the middle. I do want us to improve as far as the running game. We'll get to that. But the passing game, I do think they can add something, a more intermediate, a beginner's game to where it's like more intermediate and working your way down the field, more dink and dunk. Just because it's counterproductive right now, where if you don't have the offensive line to hit those deep shots, it's counterproductive. So you might want to start implementing some more short, quicker throws. We do great in hurry up offense as well. It absolutely steamed the Colts in our comeback victory. So I like to see that implemented.
Yeah,
And
I think
so. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to say that both the Colts game and the Chargers game, and really how the Bengals played us, should show us that they're really respecting that deep ball, and we need some kind of plan underneath because their linebackers are getting deep drops on us. I mean, look how far Chargers were playing off. The Bengals, by the way, hats off to them for just playing a really good game. Some good players played a good game, but yeah, it wouldn't hurt to diversify that pass game. And I think when Sammy comes back, if we can have all three of those healthy, it doesn't hurt to take that extra fullback off the field. Try to trust your offensive line. That's the sticky part, and that goes back to what Sarah said. If you don't have a running game, they're just going to tee off on Lamar, and you can't have that. So a quick passing game, maybe a happy medium to get that working. Once you have Sammy and Rashad and Hollywood, but specifically Sammy and Rashad on the field, one of those guys is going to get open very quick in the middle of the field, and Andrews. So a lot to look forward to in this passing game. But look, we got to go to part that everybody's wondering what the heck is going on, and that's running game. How do we look to improve the running back production? Now, before Jordan goes, I'm actually going to give my 2 cents. A lot of people are looking for us to make a trade for an offensive lineman. Me personally, I think that that's an expensive trade. I think it's hard to find much of an upgrade. Quite frankly, I'm not sure if it'll even make much of a difference. We need somebody. I just got done talking to Ken McCusick about this. We need somebody who commands some respect, some true speed, a true playmaker, or else all these eyes are going to be on Lamar. You saw with the Bengals, they didn't care what the heck our veteran backs were doing. They were keyed in on Lamar. Lamar was still beating them, but we need to take a little bit pressure off of Lamar. So, yeah, this goes to Jordan. How can we improve, get Sarah, get all of our wishes together, and not have this be Lamar accounting for 90% of our offense every week?
I mean, I think it starts with Tyson Williams, like making a gift basket and taking it to John Harbaugh and taking it to Greg Roman and making up for all the things that he's done wrong. Get in the film room, get in deep into your playbook, fix whatever it is, that they refuse to trust him on the field for, because he is by far the most dynamic running back on this team currently on the active roster by a very wide margin. He is quicker. He is a harder cutter. He is faster than Devontae Freeman and Le'Veon Bell combined right now. Those guys look like they are the running backs that were the 2018 Pro Bowlers that they are. And so the Ravens have got to commit, I think, to being willing to take some of Tyson's mistakes and let him pick up some of those yards. But ever since the Raiders game, they have decided that they don't trust him. I don't know if that's that they don't like what he's doing in terms of routes, if they don't like in terms of what he's doing in pass protection, if they don't trust him at the mesh point. I think that if they spend some time over these 2 weeks of figuring out what those issues are, and they commit to letting Tyson be kind of that 60 to 65% guy in terms of snaps and getting actual touches, I think we'll see the improvement go way, way up. You go back, I know we keep going back to the Bengals game, but if you go back and look at the Le'Veon Bell play where Wilson just shoots the gap and like absolutely steamrolls him in the backfield. I mean, Le'Veon Bell's never going to beat him to the outside there. Tyson Williams, I think, has a shot to beat him there, right? The couple carries that he had a couple shots at picking up some yards. I think it's got to be either him or Nate McCrary because they know the system. There's too much to learn. There are too many weird things that Greg Roman puts into his system. The run pass option stuff, the run option stuff alone, I think is complicated enough that it's too late to add talent there. So they've got to, I think, simplify the scheme and give Tyson a shot. Otherwise, I think we're going to see a lot of the same.
So Jordan, I have to challenge you on this. Just a theory, but part of the reason I want to see McCrary get his shot is that Tyson's been in the system for 2 years now, and to me, it's not lost on me that in the preseason you run such a vanilla offense, you're not showing much. You're running your basic 10, 15 plays, but as soon as Roman goes to this, hey, I'm running I'm running 30 different plays a game. Tyson doesn't know, he doesn't look to me like he's mentally prepared for that kind of playbook expansion, if you will. Like I'm dancing around the subject, but I think you know what I mean here. It's like if you've been in the system 2 years and you're still not knowing where to line up and what's going on fourth down, or you're not sure what hole to run through. Like I kind of challenge that. It's just like let Tyson play through it. Like maybe there's a good reason that the coaches are holding back on that. What do you think about that theory, Jordan? Is that BS to you, or could you see what I'm saying, or how do you feel?
I see what you're. So the Ravens are they're making an imperfect decision here. Is kind of my response to that, which is that I agree. Like if it's J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards, Tyson Williams doesn't even smell the field, right? But what I'm seeing from our running backs right now, and Latavius Murray, I like him, and he can get ahead of steam rolling downhill. He's averaging 3.6 yards per carry. Like he's not the answer either. To me, we have an imperfect decision to make here. I'm picking the guy with the most talent. I am narrowing my scheme down and giving him the plays that work for him and trying to build off of that, okay. Taking the options away from him and putting them in other people's hands. I'm not running him on routes that we've seen him be confused on. It's the same kind of thing we heard from Jim Harbaugh when he started with the 49ers and came in with Alex Smith. The first thing he did is he came in, he watched all the plays that Alex Smith did well on the year before, and he built the playbook around that. That's kind of what I'm encouraging here. We've seen Tyson Williams be really effective in kind of limited spots and limited ways. Let's figure out a way to take the talent that is in his legs and put that into action on the field. Because I don't think that I think the Ravens have gone to, I'm sure they've called everybody that they think that they can call. They've tried to make the trades for these running backs to get a more electric guy and to get that difference maker. And I don't think that's there either. Otherwise, I think they would have already done that too, Jason.
Okay. Thank you, Jordan. Jamil, what are you feeling? How do we get more production?
For me personally, as far as trading, I'm not really on board with trading for a running back. Me personally, I say that because you have guys here already. Your playbook is very complex, and we're at the mid part of the season. My issues is for the running game per se. It's the line. It starts up front in the trenches. If you can't create holes, it's hard for any running back to run through, especially guys that aren't, not Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Because if Gus Edwards, we wouldn't probably be having this conversation right now if Gus and J.K. were playing. But
makes his own holes, yeah.
Exactly. Since we are here, with Tyson Williams, if he's going to get it together, it needs to be fast. I don't need to see him running as if he's scared that he's going to fumble. You cannot play. That's almost playing the game like you're scared of getting hurt. There's no way you can play football like that. There's no way you can run effectively and you're thinking about fumbling. I seen him multiple times ever since that fumble in KC or the fumble he had in the Oakland game. When he once he gets to defenders, he's clinching up on the football because he's scared to make a mistake. My thing is, you cannot play that way. We've seen J.K. Dobbins fumble before. Once J.K. Dobbins fumbled, John Harbaugh gave him the football right back, and he made things happen. You got to bounce back. The NFL is about confidence, and it's about forgetting. You forget. You got to bounce back from John Harbaugh said it best. Are you going to let a negative play or a mistake define your story or write the story for you? You cannot let these things write the story for you. You got to bounce back from these things. I would like to see Tyson Williams, possibly make something happen, but I need him to do it fast. It has to happen fast. Unfortunately for Latavius Murray's injury, I don't know how long he's going to be out, so we're probably going to see Tyson. But I do want to see Nate McCurry. So I really don't have no answer as far as like how we're going to see any production, because the offensive line for me has to improve in order for any running back that we have currently to do anything in this system.
All right, a couple of things. Jason, I agree with you and Ken in that you need a running back that's going to command attention away from Lamar. I don't think that's going to happen. There's few trades that happen before the deadline. Hey, Eric DeCosta has pulled rabbits out of his hat before. So if he does that, I will be so happy he can do that, but I don't expect it to happen. So to me, as I approach this question, that was out of my mind. That league-wide, it's hard to make those trades. Then the Ravens don't really have the money for it, any cap room. They've already leveraged so much money from the future cap. Who out there are the Ravens going to get that's going to command attention? Maybe you have that list. So to me, as I answered that question, I put that out of my mind.
Yeah, the only reason I said it, Sarah, was because, with all the reasons you're saying about running back, times that by 2 to get an offensive lineman. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They're even harder to come by. So that's why I was throwing it out there. Some fresh legs is my only, solution. But
yeah, no, for sure. I don't think they're going to make either one of those trades. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they worked out the guy from the Seahawks today, reportedly. I mean, who knows? So in terms of some of the points that Jordan made, I disagreed with your first go around, but agreed with your second go around. I like that you said that there's an imperfect decision ahead. Of course there is. They've lost their first 4 running backs up to this point. So this is not something that we can heap on them. Where I disagree is this narrative about John Harbaugh's doghouse. I just don't. I don't view John Harbaugh as a guy who holds somebody back because of some personal ego decision, or maybe you're not referring to ego. But just is like blinded by something that's so in front of him and that everybody else can see, but somehow the future Hall of Fame coach can't see. I don't see that. Now, and I'm even saying that Kadri Ishmael and I have gone back and forth because Tyson Williams is a BYU guy, right? I'm from BYU. So I've been accused many times on Twitter of being biased towards Tyson. I believe that analysts should always admit their biases. I am. I'm biased towards the Ravens. I'm biased towards BYU guys. I'm biased towards Lamar. So I like viewers to know that you can take that bias into context as you take my opinions, but it doesn't make me wrong. Okay, you just have to take that into context. So with Tyson Williams, I was maybe the number one driver of trying to get him more carries. In this last game against the Bengals, I finally saw a few things that I'm like, oh, maybe that's what John Harbaugh is seeing. Maybe that's what Greg Roman is seeing. Because I guarantee you, if Lamar Jackson felt the best with Tyson Williams would be in there. So I'm not even so sure that the Lamar Jackson is like, hey, this is the guy. What I saw against the Bengals is Lamar repeatedly having to tell him where to be.
Right.
When Lamar tried to check things, he had to it was clear to me that Tyson didn't know where to be, which I'm back to Jason's point of view. He's been on the practice squad too. How can you be this lost after this amount of time? it just doesn't make sense to me. And then the other thing that bothered me, because the thing that sold me on Tyson was that preseason game, right, where he crashed through like 4 tackles and comes in backwards into the end zone. I was like, holy crap. Then the 4th and 15, was it, where he gets the ball and he just seemed to like give up and run out of bounds. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, you are trying to fight to get back your starting spot. I don't care if you can make that 4th and 15 anyway. The game is on the line. Your job is on the line. Do not go out of bounds. Put your shoulder down and try to bulldoze somebody. And if they get the better of you, so be it. But don't just run out of bounds like you were like small Marquise Hollywood Brown. Well, you know what I mean? Like, show me some hunger. Show me that you know what you're supposed to be. And this is my guy from BYU, so I'm disappointed about it. You know what I mean? But to me, if we're talking about imperfect decisions, it's him who I want to look towards to be like, find out where you're supposed to be and show me that hunger. Show me that hunger. Now, there are some other things that will be helpful just health-wise. Nick Boyle's coming back. Latavius Murray should be back. Maybe Ben Cleveland will be back. I don't know if Ben is better than Ben Powers. Well, I mean, we'll see. Le'Veon Bell isn't it, guys. Le'Veon Bell isn't it. I think half his carries, he got negative yardage. Half his carries. To me, I'm with you guys. There's no loss in giving Nate McCrary a try.
Yeah, I'm the Nate guy, Sarah. I'm like, why not? He brings the speed Tyson does. He's been on the roster. We've seen him make people miss. The O-line is what it is. It's going to be imperfect, but he's the guy that can fix that or, overcome a breakdown on the offensive line, make a guy miss, get out in space. So, yeah, I'm driving the McCrary train on this.
Yeah, because, I mean, it can't get much worse than losing negative yards on half your carries like Le'Veon Bell, right? Like, he can't be worse than that. Give it a try. So I do think it'll improve. I just, I just don't think that we're going to have the commanding back that is going to take too much pressure off of Lamar, but I don't know that we need that. I think we just need Tyson to get where he's supposed to be, and Latavius Murray should, between those two things, Latavius Murray and Nick Boyle coming back, that should be enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and just I'm going to throw a stat out here. Tyson has 33 carries on the year for 5.5 yards a carry. He was the only guy at 5 yards a carry. He only got 2 carries in the Bengals game. Yeah. And so, and I agree with you, Sarah. I'm talking about him getting out of the doghouse by learning the playbook, learning where he needs to be, learning how to read the mesh point. But he needs to convince the guys that are making the decision about what that is to do it right. He needs to commit to it. I totally 1000% agree with you. I meant it the way that you said it. And he's got to kiss as many butts of the people that are making that decision as he possibly can, because I think he's the only hope that we have.
Yeah, he's just got to play better. And then it's a tough situation, and it's bizarro world here. We're talking about the deep passing Ravens that can't get production from running backs with Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson. That's when it's bad. And to Jamil's point, the offensive line, Jamil, you need them to come up big, and we've been pretty strong from center to right. Now McCary's out, but yeah, run blocking. Ooh. I'm hoping Ben Cleveland makes a difference, Sarah, because Ben Powers is a very scrappy player. He's a very he gives it his all, but it takes every fiber in his being to make a block. Whereas Ben Powers, it looks easy. He can blow people off the ball. So maybe running behind, a big center in Bozeman, and in between, that A gap right there in between Bozeman and Ben Cleveland could be. And Zeitler's been very good. As a matter of fact, Jordan picked him for his most important player, and Zeitler has fit the bill. I feel so confident. Great signing by the Ravens, but guys, we're pretty far into the show, and we haven't talked about defense. So it's time to get on our horses here. That we could probably do a whole nother show on defense itself, missed tackles. But, I want to bring up before you go, Jamil, it's not just the missed tackles. It's nobody in sight. Like, where are they? Like, I could take some still frames from this all 22 where a guy catches the ball and there's nobody within 10 yards, 15 yards. Are we playing hero ball too much? Are we trying to do each other's jobs? Why are we missing the tackles? So the question to Jamil, are the issues and inconsistencies on this defense, because we've seen it play really well too. So I want to say the issues and inconsistencies, are they fixable, gang?
Yes, I believe they are fixable. but guys have to be willing to put in the work and fix them. It will not happen just overnight. I don't think this defense, you come back off the bye week, it would be nice if we come back off the bye week and this defense is just playing like how they played against the Chargers. I think it'll be a week-to-week thing, but I do think it can be fixed. Tackling is a part of football. You have to tackle. So for me, I think starting with putting Patrick Queen over to the wheel, which is his natural position, which I feel like the Ravens do a lot. They always take guys out of their natural positions and play them elsewhere. And then, you start to see guys struggle a little bit. And then you're wondering, did we waste the draft pick? This guy's not panning out. But then you see Patrick Queen he stacked 2 very good games once he was moved over to the wheel, and he had a veteran, Josh Bynes, playing next to him. Patrick Queen played some of his best football at the wheel, and that's where he played at LSU. So I think him playing in his natural position would help the defense, and Josh Bynes being beside him will continue to help. I do think, we do need to improve in the passing defense, because allowing 3 different games over 400 plus yards doesn't strike me as Super Bowl defense. I don't see how. And then I'll take this, but I'll say this. It doesn't strike me as a Super Bowl defense, especially because we're not getting turnovers. Now, the Chiefs defense weren't a beauty when they won the Super Bowl, but the thing they did was get turnovers. They got forced fumbles, they got sacks, they got interceptions. They did all of these things. They had a rangy safety in Tyrann Mathieu who got interceptions. They got Chris Jones who got forced fumbles and things like that. Once they turned the ball over, the offense scored. Our defense, they're getting a lot of 3 and outs, but when the offense isn't really, able to drive down the field and sustain drives, that defense isn't able to get that turnover to put the offense in an easier position to score a touchdown, because we're not really getting any turnovers. And we're allowing teams to just throw all over us. So I think the defense, I think it's fixable. I've seen them, have these struggles and then fix them. So I think they can fix the problems. I think it's just mainly tackling for me. And, it's the simplest things, though. It's not a lot. It's like I said, the flaws of this team are on the front street. It's nothing that you have to dig deep and figure out. Just the simple things.
Yeah, I think they're fixable, because I feel like what they are, even though you kind of have this broad umbrella of tackling, that's happening for different reasons. So as soon as Wink fixes one, it's like a boat where you fix one leak and then, you move over here and there's another leak. And so you go put your hand on that one and then you're like, oh, there's a leak over there. So to me, at first it was, Patrick Queen. And then so they bring in Bynes, kind of like 2019, when, by the way, the defense wasn't doing great. And then they turned it around in 2019 under Wink and with Bynes. And so, as you've said, with PQ moving over to Will and Bynes coming in, that helped that. And then one week it's Double A, it's Anthony Averett, and he gets torn apart. And then Double A comes back, and the Bengals are targeting him, and he stands up. He didn't have a perfect game, but he stands up. But then it's Humphrey who has his bad game. And then, Chris Hewitt, the secondary coach today, said with Humphrey, it was a technique thing that he just changed his technique in the 4th quarter. And so it just keeps, it's generally tackling, but it's tackling for different reasons or for different people, having the wrong angle, having coming into a zone assignment wrong, wrapping up. So it's always for a different reason. And so I do think at some point Wink is going to be able to put his hand on all the different holes. And I think the players will play better. And so I do think it's fixable. This isn't going to be the number 1 defense that you're used to from the Ravens. But I'm trying to remember back to that 2019. I remember looking at stats that Patrick Gleason would always send out, the PR vice president. And he took it from week, I can't remember when things started to turn around, but it was the last, 9 weeks or so. And in those last 9 weeks, the Ravens were a top 10 defense. And so I think that Wink can do that again.
Well, the only difference then was that Marcus Peters was the driving factor to took us into that top 10 that year.
Small difference.
But I'm standing with my boy Marlon.
And, all that was nice.
Yeah.
I'm standing with my boy Marlon. He had a tough week, but I in the same way that I'm repping him tonight is why I think that this team on defense can bounce back. I think that Wink needs to stop trying to do quite so much. I think he's taken the burden of what is happening on this defense, and he is trying to play constant chess. And especially, I think he overplayed his hand with Joe Burrow a little bit. I think they thought that they could rattle him. They thought he could get in his head, and he just stood up and he refused to be. And they brought a lot of pressure, and they brought kind of these blitz packages, and they kept a lot of guys at the line of scrimmage. Something honestly, I didn't, looking back, I didn't feel like they did it in the Chargers game. We saw a lot less blitzing in the Chargers game. There was a lot more respect for Herbert in that game. I think in that sense that's what this defense needs to do. They need to just say, hey, we're not going to give up the big plays. We've got Lamar on the other side. We've got a guy that can score fast, or we can get a guy that can score slow, that can sustain these long drives when we need to, or dial it up and score in a hurry when we need to. I don't need to put 7 guys in a cover 0 at the line of scrimmage when a guy like Jamar Chase is lined up on the other side of
Jordan, are you seeing that? Are you seeing that overall? Like you brought it up, Bengals versus Chargers, but I also feel like against KC they weren't blitzing a ton. Feels like they're having better games where they're not blitzing as much. Is that true? Or are you looking at that closely?
I'm not looking at it closely. My gut tells me that's the case, but it does seem like they've gotten super out of position when they've been blitzed, and then they can't help guys when they are. In the Indy game, I felt like they were kind of trying to come after Carson Wentz a little too much, and they refused to bracket and help on Anthony Abrett's side, and so of course he got burned. Like they had figured it out, and we. I don't know if it's stubbornness, if it's a lack of ability to adjust. In the Indy game, we still didn't have health from that perspective in the secondary. So Deshaun Elliott was still out in that game. That held a lot of things back. I think getting healthy helps that in a lot of cases. Getting Westry back, I think, will be helpful in terms of that usage. I think they've got to dial up more Jimmy Smith. They've got to dial up more Tavon Young. I'd say essentially the same thing that I'd say as it related to the running back question, which is that it's not a there is no kind of perfect, there's no Marcus Peters trade to be made into this defense this year. So they've got to make some decisions where they choose to do things that will be, in some cases, suboptimal. In the very same way that we see teams like the Chargers and Staley being really effective because they basically never put 8 guys in the box. And they say, look, if you're going to run it against us, that's fine. We're going to give up 5.2 yards a carry. But in all these other instances, you actually need to pass to beat us because we've got Eckler and we've got Justin Herbert. So you're not going to beat us unless you actually throw the ball eventually anyway. I think Wink's got to make a decision like that. And when he does, when they tighten that down a little bit, when they stay in some more too high, when they don't let themselves get beat deep and leave Marlon on a, look, Marlon is a great cornerback, but you leave a guy on his own on the back end consistently, eventually he's going to get beat, just like we saw in the Cincinnati game, and you shatter a guy's confidence in one game and you're going to see him get beat multiple times. And so once they get beat once, you have to make those adjustments. You've got to make those changes. Wink and this team are smart enough to do it, and I think they've got the talent to do it. I think the defense will bounce back. I don't think they're going to be top 10, but I think we can easily be an above average kind of 10 to 15 range defense the rest of the way out.
And Sarah,
I just wanted to add this really
Jamil.
quick. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add this. I also think it's like an ego thing almost with Wink, right? So I've seen a couple of stats with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is literally one of the best quarterbacks in man coverage and in blitz. When he's pressured in man coverage, he's one of the best quarterbacks this year. He's literally in the bottom, I think he's the bottom 5 of quarterbacks in zone. He's literally the opposite. So in zone, he has like 7 interceptions and like 7 touchdowns. He's more productive when he's blitzed or when he sees man coverage, cover 0. So in my mind, I think Wink felt like he could, like you said, rattle Burrow when it's just like, trust what you see. Burrow is lighting it up. Just go into zone. He struggled against zone. Why not just do that and help your defense out more? So that was all I had to add.
What I wanted to add was, I do a weekly preview show where we really dig in hour long, both sides of the ball. And when we started, Sarah, we would say, okay, is this a full wink or is this a half wink or is this a no wink? And literally our definition of that has changed to this week where it's just like, there's no such thing as a full wink anymore without Marcus Peters to be able to hold up on that side. So I do think that I agree wholeheartedly in this last Bengals game. Wink had some success early with the blitz. You remember Justin Houston was winning a lot. We were knocking Joe Burrow down, but we went a little bit overboard with that towards the second half. I mean, it was a game through halftime. Would Bengals have like 13 points at the half or something like that? Like it was working, but it just kind of fell apart and too much pressure on Marlon Humphrey way too much pressure on Marlon Humphrey. So I feel like that those are adjustments that we can make, but our definition of a wink defense, I think he has actually in certain games backed off of that. Kansas City being the main example, and in the Chargers game as well. So we say, all right, is he going full wink? Is it a half wink, or is it a no wink? We actually had to kind of change our definition on that show. But so who needs to step up at the bye week? So we're starting with Jordan on this one. You can go offense, defense, coach, player, any particular person, any kind of angle. Who needs to step up for this team to go where it wants to go in the second half?
I think Brandon Williams is an X factor for this team in the second half. If he can go back to being the run stuffing nose tackle that we need, then that's going to allow them to have more flexibility on the defense as well. I think there's some over accounting for the running game right now because there have been some moments where they've really gotten beat and they got their butts beat really bad in the Bengals game on a couple big plays. I think everyone's seen those highlights of Brandon Williams getting whooped up and down the field on a couple of these runs. I think if they can clean up the middle of that defense and they can be the traditional Ravens, stop the run, middle of the field, force teams to the edges, use the speed from their linebackers to be able to beat those and those guys. It's going to allow them to stay in some more of these third and long situations. It's going to allow them to be more deceptive. It's going to allow them to get off the field like we saw in the Chargers game. I mean, basically we took the run game away from them. And once we took the run game away from them, it was really easy to beat them. I think that that's a game plan that we've got to figure out how to clean up that run defense. There have been too many games where it's been just is too loose in the middle of the field. I think it's an underrated and quiet part of this team that isn't flashy, that if they clean up could make a huge difference in how the rest of the defense performs.
So for me, man, I'm going to have to go with Marlon Humphrey. I didn't want to say it because I don't want people to think that because he had that one bad game that people are just like attacking him type of thing. But for me personally, man, I just think there's something that needs to happen with Marlon that I feel like would help this defense a lot. And that's getting turnovers, even if it's going back to the fruit punch. I haven't seen a forced fumble all year. I don't, 2019, it looked like he was, that fruit punch thing that he started, he was going crazy with it. So it's like, or in 2020 as well, he kind of did his thing last year as well with forcing those fumbles. But I haven't seen one all season. He doesn't really get the interceptions like that. I would like to see more of those. And it's crazy because in that game, he actually got an interception, but it's so overlooked because of what Jamar Chase did in that game. So people don't really look at, he actually did get a turnover. I just would like to see Marlon get his hands on the football just a tad bit more, create some turnovers for this defense to get, just to get the offense in better field position. So the offense don't always have to drive down the field, marching methodically over and over. Put the offense in, better situations where they can, score quick and fast, and just put a little bit more. Because I think when the Ravens have a lead, I don't really see too many teams coming back. So I think the defense can create more turnovers and get the offense the ball quicker, and the offense can put points up faster and quicker and put that pressure on the offenses. It causes offenses to do things like, go into panic mode, trying to hurry up and come back, and then the defense can also continue to make plays. So I think if Marlon Humphrey just a tad, just try to force some turnovers here and there, we'll be fine.
All right, the guy who I think for me needs to step up the most after the bye is going to be Tyree Phillips. and
ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. That is a good one.
I feel bad because, he's going to be thrown into the fire. He's going to be thrown in the fire. Now, y'all remember what happened in the Bills game with Tyree Phillips starting at right tackle.
Come on,
Lamar
Sarah.
Jackson got
Don't bring up old stuff. Won't bring up old stuff.
Listen. This is the reality of the situation we're in here, boys. We gotta stare this in the eye. And the Ravens clearly didn't want to make him a tackle. They want him to be a guard. Because who would have thought? I wouldn't have thought. Patrick McCary, He's been all over this line. I remember being on a show with Ken McCusick. This was after one of the preseason games. He's like, the Patrick McCary experiment is over at right tackle. Get him out of here. Leave him in the first, the middle three positions if you need. But holy crap, Patrick McCary comes out of nowhere. Is probably, his first game in, a little bit shaky. He starts getting better. I'd give him a B grade. And this is a guy who is not built to be a tackle in the NFL. His arms aren't long enough. But he's so smart and he knows how to use what he has. And he came out of nowhere. He's got great feet. You could probably go more into the scattering report than I can. What I do know is that he's been well above expectations. That's what I need from Tyree Phillips. He's going to be thrown into the fire. But for the Ravens' sake, for Lamar Jackson's sake, he's got to perform above any of us expect. He's got to do it. Lamar needs it. The Ravens need it. He needs to step up for me after the bye.
So, Sarah, do you think finally leaving this poor man in one position to concentrate on will give him a better shot? Because I saw him at left tackle in the preseason. He started right guard last year. We've seen him at left guard. Now, poor Tyree is back to right tackle. Sarah, am I crazy for thinking that just having him concentrate at right tackle, that there's a good chance that he can step up?
You'd like to think that if anybody has enough consistency at one spot, they'd be better. You just wish that he could have had that consistency, not live on the job training, with your franchise quarterback behind him. So, no, you're not crazy. That's what has to happen. He's got to do it.
So a lot to most important player, our prediction before the season was Ronnie Stanley. And then look how that's playing out now.
We said most important besides Lamar Jackson. Besides Lamar,
yeah.
In there. Yes.
Lamar's always the most important. And I'm looking at our rookie impacts. Ben Cleveland's on that list. It would be nice to have him show up and have that rookie impact. I remember saying it's not about the regular season with Ben Cleveland. It's about the playoffs. So maybe we're putting it out there in the air, team, where all this is just going to come to fruition. And we're going to make it happen just because of our show, not because of Harbaugh, not because of Lamar. It's going to be because of us. But, yeah, so final thoughts. Mr. Patterson, we'll start with you.
Yes, sir.
You can circle back and talk about anything you want, my friend. You can take yourself 5 minutes if you want. What's your final thoughts? Let's forget about this Bengals game. Let's look at where we are at 5-2. Let's look at our final thoughts on the rest of the season, what we're going to look forward to.
Okay. I just want to start off by first pointing out that Pat McCary, he reminds me a little bit of a center that played for the Ravens that was undersized, and he retired early. You guys might remember John Urschel. You guys remember? He was so I get he's undersized thing, very smart tactician, That's why I love McCary. Unfortunately, we gotta depend on Tyree Phillips. But my final thoughts are we gotta play Raven football, man. We have to lock in this bye week, and we have to focus on what is going to work for this offense going forward and what's going to work for this defense going forward. We cannot get the offensive coordinators, the defensive coordinator cannot be stubborn and stuck in their ways. They have to realize the personnel that they have in place, and they have to adjust to the personnel. You don't have the offensive line you wanted to have. So you have to, cater to the offensive line. You have to try to create around them. You see how much time your quarterback has on certain plays. You got to create an offense around that. Defense. Wink. Come on, man. You don't have MP. You just don't have the guys that mainly you don't have the guy, MP, who can, you can kind of leave on the island. You can leave, you have the two stellar corners. You don't have that right now. So the best thing you could do defensively right now is when you're playing certain teams, don't always try to flex and blitz and think you can outsmart somebody. Just sit back and be humble, man. Be humble. You're not, I'm not saying that you can't let the gold chain hang out, Wink. I'm not saying that. Let the chain hang out. But at the same time, it's fly. But be humble, man. Just understand that you don't have what you want to have in place in front of you. Some guys are not performing at the level you expected them to perform at. And some guys are, late bloomers, and they're coming around slowly but surely. So you got to cater to those guys and create around the guys you have right now. Those are my final thoughts going forward for the Baltimore Ravens, and playoffs, here we come, baby.
Nice.
Hey, man, the Ravens had Lamar Jackson. They're going to go to the playoffs. He's hungry.
Okay.
He's hungry. He's busting narratives this year. He's eating. He's eating. Is that what we're doing? We're eating here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Ravens are good. I think this is a week-to-week league. I'm not too deep into the Bengals game. Obviously, you learn from it all, but I still feel very good about the Ravens. All you can ever hope for is that you go to the playoffs. This is a 17-week season. As the Ravens get people back, other teams are going to be losing their guys. Okay, we're going to be coming into a more even playing field, and the Ravens, as long as Lamar Jackson's there, is good. They got to fix what we've all talked about, but I feel good. And maybe we'll do another show. Maybe we'll do another show around playoff time. I don't know. We'll talk about our playoff predictions. All right, that's what we got to do.
Okay, Sarah. So Sarah, if the Ravens make the playoffs, can we get another show?
I'm here for it if everybody else is. Yeah.
Okay. We're working with you.
What do you mean?
Playoffs, we gotta go hard. We don't mess around. We gotta go hard. I'll do like 50 podcasts. I don't care. It's the playoffs.
Beautiful. And I wanted to ask Sarah, as far as the show before Jordan kind of closes it, if I gave it a 9 out of 10, would you say that was too high, too low, or right on, bro?
Too low, bro. Too low.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. So yeah, hey, plenty of reasons to be optimistic. I mean, it's in our nature as fans, analysts, to live and die. We need to fix this. We need to fix that. But yeah, man, that, like Jordan said, I think it was Jordan, if you switch those losses and we beat the Bengals and we lost to the Chargers, we'd be like, look, man, we want to know in the division. We're in first place. We still have the best record in the AFC. It just, a piece of me says it was kind of good to get that humble pie, that punch in the mouth served to us right before this bye week. Jamil said problems are on Front Street. They really are. Jamil. Like, I agree with that. It's no big secret to what we have to do better. We have to tackle better. We have to find a way to run the ball better. We just have to take a little bit more pressure off Lamar. However you want to slice it, whatever your solutions to those problems are, they're on Front Street, Jamil. Like, I totally love that statement. So, Jordan, final thoughts, man. Bring me back. I got a little distracted there. Bring me back,
right,
buddy.
I got one question, though. Who was your prediction? If I recall, your prediction for the best rookie, Jason, was Odafe Oweh. And
no, it was not. My prediction, it was the most important player on this team was Odafe Oweh. And might I add, I feel like I did pretty good about that because I was saying.
You definitely did.
I was just trying to throw you some credit there.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, thank you, Jordan.
Beast.
Thank you, man.
I remember you repping Oweh, and we all kind of laughed at you. And now he's been an absolute stud, absolute pressure. Barely missed a sack there in the Bengals game, and on that first drive, I mean, he's been phenomenal. Props.
Yeah. He should have finished that though, but I give him his props. He should have finished that.
He should have finished that. But
Jordan, I was worried.
We'll take the pressures.
Yeah.
That if he wasn't trusted to drop, or if he wasn't given any pass rush, that he would disappear in this defense or be like looked at as a project. And then I said, imagine if he gets 8 sacks, or imagine if he can't play. Like, the wide range of Odafe Oweh was why I made him most important. So yeah, every once in a while I'll run into one, man. It was just a fastball I ran into. That's all it was.
I thought you hit that one on the head. I remember you saying it specifically because no one else. I don't think the rest of us even talked about him. So you nailed that one for sure, Jason. My thoughts about this team moving forward are, $39 million of salary cap money on the injured reserve right now. $39 million. So it doesn't matter what you pay Lamar. Sarah was talking about that earlier. You could pay Lamar the same contract that Mahomes has. It would take 7 years into that contract before it'd be that much money on the cap. Right. We're buried on the cap. We got $10 million of Earl Thomas dead money on the cap. This team is. I would go back to what Sarah said first and foremost on that first answer, which is this team is resilient. I think they got a lot of fight in them, and they've got a lot of heart and a lot of desire. I think that Jamil's also got it right that they need to add a little bit of humility to that. This team has been so good the last 2 years that they think they know what they're doing, and they think they don't have to make some adjustments on that, and they wouldn't if they were healthy. If Marcus Peters was here, if J.K. Dobbins was here, if Gus Edwards was here, if Ronnie Stanley was here, they could do exactly the same things they were doing the last 2 years, and they would absolutely be 7-0 and steamrolling this league. That's without a question in my mind. So now the question is, how do they grow from here, right? How are they going to look into themselves? How are they going to look at what they're doing? Lamar's got to go back and watch the tape of where he missed these throws in this Bengals game, tighten that up. They got to go and figure out what they're doing in the run game, tighten that up. They got to figure out how they want to approach it in the secondary, get everybody on the same page, get this. And John Harbaugh will do this better than I think any coach in the league, which is get them all on the same page, bring back the team mentality. There is a little too much hero ball, I think, at times on this team, especially on the defensive side. Play together, play as a unit, play to the goals that you're setting up when you start the week. And this team, like we've all been saying, is going to have a very deep run in the playoffs. And then if that happens.
So Jordan, I need to throw some credit back. You did say the most improved player on this team was Calais Campbell, and he's probably the MVP aside from Lamar this season.
I said that. That was me.
Jamil, no, you said Meta PK 9.5 sacks.
Hey, man, hey, what? I did not say that. Okay, I did not say that. I did not.
No, that was Knox. Knox said that. I think Knox said that. Throw it on Knox.
That's who it was.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for your time and just I had so much fun with you guys all together, and it's just a wonderful show. I wish I had some next time. I'm going to step up my game. We got to get the right on bro. If I end up becoming the right on bro guy, I mean, so be it. It's not the best title, but at least they'll remember me for something, Sarah. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, look, it's catchy.
No, Jason, let me listen. I know we're ending. I remember my first time meeting you, virtually, of course, group on Ken McCusick doing drafts. Yeah. You had this draft board and like 150 players memorized. Right on, bro, pales in comparison to your knowledge that night. I will never forget. Never forget. That's what I remember you as right there. I will always remember that.
And you know what, Sarah? I can't wait till this year, because last year we had no combine and all these numbers were phony. All these pro day numbers were phony. Yeah. Everybody was running a 4.3, and it's like, that's BS. That's a too high.
I tell
too
you
low,
what,
or whatever it is.
I tell you who ran a legit 4.3. It looked like Rashad Bateman. That boy looked explosive when he caught them passes and he was going up the field. I was like, he looked faster than what I thought. I didn't think he was that fast.
Hey Sarah, you know what I've been bragging on lately is the Bengals should take Chase over Sewell. And it hurts to brag. It hurts to brag this week, but my argument was always, if you got chemistry, a record-setting connection in college, left tackles are important, but so is a number one that's got a legit number one that's got connection with your quarterback. They're going to be a problem in this division, man. For as long as they're together, man, we got our hands full. Marlon's got his hands full. Dude, I'm glad you repped the Marlon jersey, Jordan, because
I had to.
He plays his guts out for this team.
I love the man. And he had a forced fumble this week, Jamil. He forced that fumble on Jamar Chase.
He did. I just wish we'd have got it.
Just saying.
Turnover. Yeah, I wish we'd have got the turnover. They talk about kicking the football and, he kicked the football. I was like, man, get out of here, man. That was a forced fumble. And he got an interception.
I don't think his foot touched it. I don't. I think, but Chuck Clark laying on it while he was out of bounds. He was out of bounds anyway. So we ain't crying over spilt milk. We're gonna kick some Viking butt coming up. John Harbaugh's numbers off the bye week. Go ahead, fact checkers, look it up. It's pretty darn good. I mean, I know we're gonna come to play. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, another one of my draft favorites, by the way, and Dalvin Cook coming to town. A lot to stop.
The boys got some talent. They got some talent over there.
On offense, at least, you know what I mean? Lamar might have a 40 burger in his future.
Danielle Hunter, Tyree Phillips. I'm scared. I'm not. Cut that out. Don't edit that out. I don't want nobody to hit me.
No. Hey, you know what?
Scared.
You know what they're going to do? Like, Patrick Ricard is going to play 55 snaps again, and he's going to be basically your second
Or
right
Nick
tackle.
Boyle. Or Nick Boyle.
Or Nick. Oh man, Nick Boyle. Yeah, that's hey, most important player moving forward, Nick Boyle. I think we could all get on
I
board
thought about
with
that one.
Or Derek
Yeah.
Wolf.
Wolf, yeah.
Or Derek Wolf.
All right,
Derek
let's stop wasting Sarah's time. I'm sure she has some stuff to do. We could sit here and talk about football. Hey, I want to say goodbye to my football family and just thank everybody for watching. Thanks, my great group. All right, say goodbye to people.
All right, John. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks for having us, Jason.
All right, man.
Thank you, Jason.